So let's bring in Dalia Ziada, an Egyptian award-winning writer and Middle East expert. She is currently in D.C. as a senior fellow at the Jerusalem Center for Security and Foreign Affairs. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning, Hannah, Jem, and Mark. I'm very happy to be with you this morning.
So to begin with, can you set the stage for us? What's the story? What's happening right now and the relevance?
So right now we are in a situation that puts the Middle East on edge. Israel have launched a strike on Qatar a few days ago. That by all means, of course, according to the international law and everything, if we look from outside, it looks like an aggression on a state that didn't do anything to Israel. But when we look closer, we realize we will understand the reasons why Israel had to do this. Qatar for so long has been hosting Hamas leaders. Hamas is the same organization that launched the October 7 attack on Israel 2 years ago, that's still holding Israeli hostages in tunnels until today. And not only hosting, Qatar has also been breeding these terrorists, funding them, emboldening them politically on the international level or in the international media, and dedicating its media machine to whitewash them even after the October 7 attack. So right now, Arab countries had to react to the attack that looked like an aggression once again. First, by going to the UN Security Council a few days ago, and today holding a high-level summit, Arab summit, where Arab and Islamic summit, where about 50 countries from majority Arab and majority Muslim countries will be attending, mainly to condemn Israel.
Do you think these diplomatic leaders see the conflict differently than those in the Arab street?
Oh, of course. Actually, in the Arab street in general is very sympathetic with the idea of hating Israel. I wouldn't say sympathetic with the Palestinian cause, the so-called Palestinian cause, and I say so-called because it has different meanings to different people. So they are very sympathetic with anything that's against Israel, and it has to do with a history of political and ideological accumulations that primed the mainstream Arab audience to that. The leaders in the Arab world, the Arab diplomat, the Arab leaders play it differently. They see this issue of fighting against Israel or the collective Arab stance against Israel as a means to distract their own people from their domestic problems, economic problems, political problems, and so on. So it's, yes, they see it differently, but we can say they are playing the same chords. When it comes to condemning Israel, hating Israel, projecting all types of anti-Semitic rhetoric against Israel.
We know this evacuation of Gaza City is very problematic. Gazans wondering, where do I go? They've moved around so often. Question being, could other Arab countries be doing more to help the situation in Gaza?
This is a very good question, Jem, actually, and I would answer this first as an Egyptian myself. I hate to see my own homeland, home country, Egypt, refusing to take the Gazan refugees. I think it's a moral obligation on Egypt to take the Gazans who are suffering from war, who are being bombed from the skies, and Hamas actually are using them as human shields while the Hamas militants are hiding in the tunnels and purposefully letting them die in large numbers so they can use their blood as a fuel for legitimacy for Hamas in the world. Egypt, as the direct neighbor of Gaza and the country actually that holds the door that can lead the Gazans out and give them a chance to flee this war, they refuse to take them in. And the same thing for other Arab countries. Of course, they provide so many reasons, starting from we don't want the Palestinian cause to die, up to we are not ready to take the trouble of Gaza into our countries. But to be honest, none of this justifies not helping people in war, not opening the door for them to flee the war.
You know, we were discussing this earlier, and we're starting to see in the last 6 months more and more people being critical of Israel in this conflict and really just going after Gaza time and time again with these bombs. What we're seeing recently, the worldview, not for everyone, but many people are starting to change how they're viewing this conflict. Do you think Israel can shift that public perception? What's your take on that?
Look, first of all, we have to agree that war is ugly, of course. The war that's happening in Gaza is very ugly. The scenes of people dying in war is not acceptable. And we pray that this war ends sooner than later. But we have also to open our eyes to the fact that these people are not dying because the war is happening, which in my opinion is a very legitimate war. Hamas committed a terrorist crime on October 7 that if it was committed in any other country, this country would just simply do the same thing as Israel did. And until today, Hamas still holds Israeli hostages. And it's the duty of the Israeli military and government to do everything they can to release their hostages, including through war. But the issue is that, unfortunately, these terrorists, Hamas terrorists, they have a huge media machine behind them, mainly sponsored by Qatar, and they keep whitewashing them. They distract people from the fact that it's not Israel that started this war, it's Hamas, and it's not Israel that is endangering the lives of the people in Gaza, but Hamas is. And then actually it also has to do with international politics. Before demonizing Israel and delegitimizing Israel has been a game that has been played in the Middle East for so long, either under the pan-Arabism communist era or under the Islamists, the radical Islamist groups that claim that Israel is hijacking our Islamic holy sites or so. But recently, the rise of the radical left has fueled this narrative as well, because Israel does not look in this conflict as the oppressed. Israel looks, according to the media narrative, as the oppressive. Although, actually, if you think about it, it is the one who got assaulted first, and it's only retaliating. It didn't launch this war. It didn't start this war. So, based on that, unfortunately, many of the people in Western countries, including here in the U.S., who don't understand the Middle East well, they fall an easy victim for this narrative of looking at Israel as the Satan and at Hamas as freedom fighters, or maybe the oppressed who have the right to violence.
We know that you've yourself has faced some backlash because of your views in support of the Israeli military action and have had your own safety concerns. You're here in the U.S., but tell us a little bit about the impact that you have felt based on you expressing these views.
Unfortunately, when October 7 happened, I was one of only 3 people in my home country, Egypt, an entire country of over 120 million people. I was only one of 3 people who dared to publicly condemn Hamas and say that what they did is a terrorist crime. And it's not acceptable what happened on October 7. As a result, I received a terrible backlash that started first by radical Islamists wanting to kill me, and then the state media and unfortunately the Egyptian state itself started to target me kind of used me as a scapegoat to please the general public who were very sympathetic or are still, unfortunately, very sympathetic to Hamas. But thank God, I had great friends because of my work on Muslim-Jewish dialogue and Arab-Israeli dialogue my whole life that were able to intervene at the right moment and evacuate me. I came here to the US, and I want to say that I owe this country a lot. I owe this country my education, my career, and most recently, my life. That's why I was so shocked when I came here to find that the same radicals that I escaped from there in my home country still exist here. And right now, I'm on a mission to fight these people so they wouldn't destroy the US the same way they destroyed my home country.
Dalia Ziada, we appreciate your perspective very much. Thanks so much for joining us here.